All right, guys, welcome back to a new episode of Moose Tracks Podcast. If you don't know me, my name is Moose. I'm the host of this podcast. And what we do here is we just literally set up a mic, sit down with some friends, have some really funny, crazy, weird conversations that you probably have in the privacy of your own home. Today I'm just sitting with my boy Ben Zimmerman. How are we doing today, Ben?
I'm doing good, thanks.
And we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of people can relate out there. And honestly, I think something that's not really spoken about enough, right, Ben?
Yeah, that's true.
So we're going to be talking about first generation kids and what it's like being an amazing first generation child. So, if you guys don't know, my parents are actually from Algeria. They immigrated here in 92, I think. That's more than 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more than 25 years. So yeah, they immigrated here in 92, and your parents are from where?
My dad's from New York City, like born and raised in America, but my mom's from the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I think he's second generation, I think.
He's second generation.
Yeah.
You said from Russia, right?
From Russia, yeah.
Yeah. So we can obviously relate to that topic a whole lot just because, you know, we go through things I feel like a lot of our friends probably might not really understand. Majority of our friends I think really might not understand because in all honesty, there is a lot of baggage with being a first generation, whether it be child, student, whatever the case may be, because you're basically setting the foundation, you know what I mean, to what's coming in the future.
You got to start your legacy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like if you screw up, then it's done. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely done. So yeah, like I was saying. So yeah, I'm the last born. I'm actually the first born in America in my family, which I just think is crazy because like if you ever watch those shows or like go into like history books, like whatever, like it's always so funny to see the very first person that was like that like laid the foundation out for some like crazy family or like some crazy family like history, like. My great grandkids are gonna look back. I'm gonna be the first one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the history books. I just find that really crazy. But yeah, so I have 5 older siblings. They were all born in Algeria and they all immigrated here. So yeah, I feel like I'm really get the whole first generation experience. So you have siblings too, right?
Yeah, I have an older brother, younger sister.
I didn't know you had an older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they were all born here?
Yeah, they're all born here.
Yeah, so I bet they can all relate to this too. And anyone else out there, you know, who does have parents who are immigrants or grandparents who are immigrants and, you know, have a heavily influenced culture besides an American one in their homes. And, you know, I just thought it was really cool because if we're sort of giving a voice and like an outlet to those people, you know what I mean, that don't that don't necessarily have one in a sense. I can speak from my point of view. It was really interesting growing up because at home I knew I was like, you know, I knew that my parents weren't from America, but at my house, I was raised speaking a separate language other than English. But I never felt for a long period of my life that I would say, not American in a sense. I feel like we are American in every way, shape, or form, but in the mold that a lot of our friends or people might not see it as. I feel like
I think being children of immigrants, that makes us the most like that is America. Like to me, like being an immigrant coming to here is what America is. Like obviously I'm not trying to like talk anyone down who's like parents like who aren't immigrants like and stuff.
All
like
to
that.
you guys.
Yeah. But like
all to you guys.
For me, like when I think of America, I think of my mom came here from the Philippines. My dad's grandparents came from Russia, like during World War II and all that, and like from Ukraine and all that. And they came here escaping like the Germans and everything like that. And that is what America is to me, is like the safe haven. Like starting something from nothing is exactly what America is to me. Like so. And
his mom is a doctor. If I had an applause button, I would pay that, which is very hard. No, it's very hard coming from a different in like the medical field. That's basically that's not possible in a lot of cases. Like especially if they started it back in their original country, they basically have to start all over when they come
pretty much back
to America. Like that is a lot. So hats off to your mom for doing that because that takes a whole lot. But yeah, I think
she reminds me every day of how hard it was.
Absolutely.
Every time you mess up, you always hear from your immigrant parents, I didn't come to America for this, for my son to be this, or blah, blah,
It's like, I was doing fine back home. I came here for you. Literally, don't trust me. I hear that all the freaking time. But yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense because it's like, you know, if they didn't have like a war going on in their country, or if there wasn't like a dictator or something where they had to flee, if they were doing fine, comfortable back in their original country, but they knew that starting their family in America would offer better opportunities, it is kind of hard because think about it, being a parent, you're like, I was fine back wherever. In that case, if they were, obviously, if there was a war or something like that and they flood, that's a whole other story. But like, if they were doing fine, they were comfortable. Like, I was doing fine. Like, I could have been so and so. I came here for you. They basically just sacrificed everything they had back home. So I feel like in a lot of first generation kids, that's always in their head. It's like they have a burden. We have like a burden on our shoulders. 20 and any actions
you got to climb the social ladder for your parents because they already started at the bottom for you. Like they started at the bottom for you, and you gotta. There's so much pressure to be like, all right, now I have to advance further than my parents did. If not, I'm obviously letting them down, and all of their sacrifices meant nothing. Even if that's not the case.
Yeah. Like, I literally feel like my college degree is for my mom and dad. It's getting, like, really sad. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing it for me and my future kids, but I'm like, oh, I can't wait till I walk the stage, and my parents are like, yeah, because I literally feel like it's for them. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's a different way of life, I feel like. So, in my household, very North African culture. Like I said, we spoke Arabic at home. The food, even though my dad is like an Italian chef and that's what he does for a living, like he can really throw down some great Italian like foods. Arabic food, Arabic decor. We had an Arabic style living room literally until a year ago. So like we did not have like a normal.
You had couch. Like cushions.
It was like cushions on like a wood, like with like that my mom would literally buy from Algeria, put in a suitcase, bring it here, like the cover, and she would change it every season. So in the winter it'd be like dark, like a darker red or blue. In the summer she'd switch it up. But yeah, so like different household things, and like I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, I have a lot of Filipino things in my house that are like you wouldn't see in a lot of other houses.
Like cuisine, I'm sure like your mom probably can make some great food, but like that's also very freaking crazy that I realized a lot of kids like us, like our palates, like we
very
have
diverse,
like we have had, I think every Filipino food. I feel like you probably have had every spice there is ever. Like any like what is it, Southwest, Southeast Asia?
Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
My whole mix is literally like Russian, and then you go all the way down south to the Philippines. That's literally pretty much like I'm top to bottom.
Literally, yeah. Ours in my house was very, I would call it Mediterranean in a sense. So like garlic, like oregano, like lemon, olive oil, like all that stuff. That's really like spicy, like all of that is like put into my palate. So I always find it funny sometimes when I go to eat with like friends and they might not have had that.
Yeah,
I would say I'm gonna call it a privilege because like that is pretty sick to
it
like
is. No, it's
have
definitely
that.
A benefit.
Yeah, like and they're like, oh, chicken fingers and fries. I'm like, we came. I trust me. I love a good chicken fingers and French dip, but like we're at like a restaurant that offers like a lot of cool things.
Exactly.
Try it out. Like I don't think there has been one like culture meal where I've yet to be like, ooh. Because I've tried like Chinese food, which is very different from Japanese food, which is very different from Korean food.
Yeah.
And they all, if you have the authentic stuff, oh my.
Korean barbecue. So
all right, Korean barbecue, Korean fried chicken.
Yeah.
If y'all have
from
not,
Bonchon.
Oh my god. If you are in the North Shore area, the Boston area, if you have not had Bonchon fried chicken, what are you doing with your life?
Exactly.
Remember we like found out, like, I found out that you were into that. I was like, Ben, have you tried Bonchon? I was like, no, I hope that doesn't sound racist because you're Asian. I don't know if you had it. It is like, it's spicy.
It's so good.
It's like a flavorful spice.
Yeah,
it's like
very flavorful.
It's like flavorful, but then it gives you like a kick. You're like, what is that in the back? Like I don't eat it with any sauce. Like I eat it by itself, just like because it is so freaking good. But that's Korean, right? That's a Korean type of food, and like I think I would have never ventured out into that style of eating or that type of cuisine if I didn't already have a diverse palate. Like, granted, there are people who didn't come from households like ours and already do that, but I would say most likely people from like us.
You're forced to. It's literally like you get like American food at the cafeteria at lunch. You know what I mean? And then you gotta come. Yeah. Then you come back and you get. For me, it was like Asian food or.
Did you ever bring Asian food for like lunch at school?
No, I always ate school lunch.
You always ate school lunch?
Yeah.
I like used to bring oh my god, I used to like bring leftovers sometimes because I love them. But my dad would literally like pack like a fork and a knife, like a real fork and a knife in my lunchbox, and like a teacher saw it one day and she's like, this is not acceptable, like you cannot have a real knife while you are in like 4th grade, relax. So I'm like, how am I gonna cut this? So then I ended up going to school lunch, which was sad. I honestly, my school lunch was fine, and then things like changed and stuff, and it just went horrible. So I used to like not eat school lunch for a while.
My school lunch always sucked being in Florida where
Yeah, how was it in Florida? Oh wait, yeah, if you guys don't know, Ben is not from Massachusetts. I completely forgot to say that. He is from Pensacola, Florida. So we gotta rep that. So how was that? Like how? Because up here, I feel like every school had like the same thing. It was like pizza.
Yeah, pizza, burgers, chicken tenders. You know what I mean?
Was this in high school or like elementary school?
All through, like
All through, yeah.
K through 12,
Yeah,
like all
yeah.
through.
Exactly.
It's pretty much all the same, like just regular cafeteria food. But
Yeah.
it's Florida. There was no money put into the public schools. Like,
Yeah, literally.
it was not that good. I mean, did I eat it?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
'Cause-
Like, what else was I gonna do? But you know, then again, it's a school lunch. It's not supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's-
exactly. I'm making it seem like it has to be
Yeah.
like a freaking 4-star meal. No, absolutely.
It is
not.
what it is. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It is what it is.
But on the topic of school lunches, but like, yeah, I think school is such it's so ingrained in your head to do good in school. I know in
You
my
have to.
I can speak in my
have to.
household. It was such like a thing. Like college was not even a question. Like
Yeah.
it was not like, and I'm not saying people who don't go to college like don't succeed. I have many friends who aren't in college and they're doing amazing. But in my home, going to college, it was gonna happen no matter what. And you know, because I had sisters that went, you know, graduated college and got degrees. So my mom engraved in my head like, you will be the first boy in our family with a college degree. Like it is gonna happen. I don't care what it's in. Granted, she was like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, or something with like a. Would you say like going like I feel like they say that because they know you'll get a job. Do you think that's why they say doctor, lawyer? There's always that.
Well, you
stereotype.
always get a job as like a doctor and a lawyer.
Yeah, there's
right?
always. I think there's always that stereotype where it's like, you know, like go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go be this, because there's always job security. Would you say that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they're just general like good. Like, you know what I mean? You're always gonna have a good life if you're a doctor or a lawyer.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're generally just good jobs to have. But I was curious, could your sisters go to school in Algeria? Was that allowed?
Yeah. So Algeria is very like democratic after France left. Very like they push for education. There's a lot of like, from my understanding, if I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but from my understanding, there is a lot of like still old-fashioned influences, like having kids young and getting married at a really young age, starting your family, and like, which in a sense is very amazing and it is a privilege. But you know, they go to like, I feel like they go to high school, and that's. I don't want to say that's it, but from my understanding, I know things are changing and they're progressing amazingly back home. But I just think from my understanding, after high school, it's not as common to see a girl go to college. But I do understand things are progressing. So here, obviously, my mom was like, there are a million colleges for you to choose from. You're going to college.
Yeah.
You know?
Same thing, like my mom's mom was beat for going to school.
Oh, really?
Back in the Philippines. Yeah, she used to get beat for going to school.
Oh, my God.
And then my mother, because they were still in the Philippines, was one of the first people from like her area to go to college that was a girl.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so.
Wow. So did your mom grow up in like a town, or was
she grew up in like outside of like Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines. She grew up in in Metro Manila.
Okay, so like next to the city.
Yeah.
So she was sort
in,
of
like
exposed?
not so nice area. Yeah.
Yeah. I can completely understand. But yeah, so like school really is, and like us being, you know, in college, it is kind of interesting to think back, you know, on like K through 12 and how that all went through. Like, I can only imagine being our parents and like, what if like your kid just was like not doing good in school? Like, I know you do great in school. You want to be a doctor. Like, you are very strict in your school, and like I think I do decent as well. I think I do all right as well. So I can only imagine like if that's so important to you, and your kid comes home with like D's.
Exactly.
Like,
no, I was never allowed to come home.
Oh my
with a D.
God!
Yeah.
I was like, I remember I have a funny story. I got my first F, I think, in 4th or 5th grade, and it was math. And anyone who knows me, anyone who's friends with me, knows I am very, very bad at math. Like, I literally still have to use I count on my fingers, so it's like pretty sad. I barely passed stats last semester. No, it was last year. Last year, spring semester, I had to take math. You know, it's like the prereq. Barely passed it. But anyways, back in 4th or 5th grade, I remember I got my first F. I was horrified. I ran to my sister's house after school, and I remember I was just sobbing. I was like, Mom's gonna find out I got an F. And I remember like I was like, there's no like escaping this. Like,
Yeah,
I have to tell her. So first she was at work, and I called her to tell her I was at my sister's house. Like, come get me after you get out of work with Dad. And she heard me like my voice shaking. So she's like, what's wrong? Like, why you sound upset? And I just broke. I was like, I got an F in math. It would just went like radio silence. Like, she just literally did not speak. And I remember I don't remember the rest of that day so much, but I think after that, like, I did tell my mom though, I was like, listen, I told her and my dad, I was like, math is not my strong suit. I promise you I'll try my best, but I just need you to know now, if you see a C or like, you have to even a B, like, I was shamed for like a B, which I think is like fine, but I just warned them, like, math is not my strong suit at all.
Exactly, yeah.
So I was just not happy. That was a very, very, very sad day. I still think about it all the time. But yeah, what's your like point of view on that? So like, were your parents like so strict on you?
Yeah, they were very strict about grades. I mean, my mom being a doctor.
Oh my god.
So she was literally every day. It was like, you have to get good grades. Like, your grandmother was beat for going to school. Like, I was one of the first ones from my area to go to school as a woman, like, to be a doctor. Blah. I went on a full ride. Blah blah blah. All that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I worked my ass off to like be able to give you a position here, which is true. Like, and I'm super thankful that she did that.
Yeah, no, of course.
But it makes you think, like, it's just like, if you don't match that, then you're just letting your parents down. Obviously, you never want to let your parents down.
And like, what if you don't match that though? Like, shame to you and your family. Like, that's literally how they see it. Is like, you are bringing shame to our last name. And it's like, so my dad for the longest time wanted me to be a pilot. Fun. I was very close on enlisting in the Air Force. I think we talked about this like 2 days ago. I think it came to like junior or senior year. Like, I really like, I know academically I'm good. I can do it. I'm not really like, I wish I was good with my hands. Like, I can do the bare basics. I wish I could like be an electrician or be a plumber or something, because that's like job security as well. Like,
you get a lot of money doing
exactly. But I can do the base. I'm not that good with my hands. In school I was better at that, so I kind of wish I was. But anyways, I was gonna join the Air Force just because I thought like, all right, if I can join something where I'm, serving I thought it was the most American thing I could do. First generation, I'm going to enlist in the Air Force and serve my country, in which I respect all troops, obviously, and anyone who serves. It's amazing, and thank you so much. But I thought that was my idea. My dad was, as soon as I told my dad, he was pushing it like no one's business. He was like, I was a pilot in the Algerian Air Force. You go be a pilot. Yes, go do that. You're going to have a great life. And my mom was just like not happy about it. Like, she supports our troops, she supports everything, but I just think the thought in her head of her
son in danger,
of her child literally serving in the military, especially with what was going on at the time, like, she was just horrified. So she just really like urged me to go to school. And then I sat down and I thought about it. I was like, me getting yelled at by her drill sergeant.
Yeah, you'd crumple.
Yeah, I did not see that going good at all. So I was just like, let me apply to school. So when you were applying you went to, tell everyone a bit about the high school you went to, because I honestly think it's pretty sick.
Yeah, so I went to I've been at public school my entire life, K through 9, and then 10th grade, so sophomore year of high school, I went to IMG Academy, which is a sports school in South Florida.
So it's where they literally breed like pro players.
Yeah, it's a boarding school. And so I stayed obviously like in the dorms and everything like that. It was a good time. But then senior year, I had a couple options to stay in the South, but honestly, my dad being from New York, my brother was born in New York. My mom, when she first came to America, was from went to New York. And so I always wanted to go back up north just to see like what it was like. And so when my roommate at the time got an offer from Salem State, they also asked if they wanted any pitchers, and I was a pitcher at the time, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Let's go to, I'd never been to Massachusetts before, like, the school looks nice, I went on my visit, I fell in love with the place, and I was like, yeah, the North is for me. Yeah,
so, where did your mom go to college? She went to college here in America?
She went to college in the Philippines, and then her, like, residency was in America.
Okay, so, was she more on, like, Ben, I want you to go like anywhere that's gonna like suit you? Did she want you to stay in Florida, like next to her, or was she more like do whatever you want with college?
My parents would have preferred me to stay in Florida just because it would have been cheaper being in state.
No, obviously, yeah.
But other than that, no, it was whatever was best for me, they would have done.
And was she happy that you were following in her steps in like the medical field?
Yeah, at first from day one I always thought I wanted to be either a soldier or an engineer.
Yeah.
And then when I got older, like every young kid's like, yeah, I want to be a soldier. Like, you know what I mean? Then
It's Call of Duty, man. I don't know. It puts something in our heads.
then I wanted to be an engineer because I loved playing with Legos and I thought I could build things for the rest of my life.
That is smart.
Yeah, but then I realized like, oh, it's a lot hard. It's a lot more complicated than Legos.
We're not following instructions on a Lego piece. Yeah.
But I really fell in love with anatomy, and I wanted to help people. Like that's always been.
I can't relate. I fall in love with anatomy. Yeah. No, but
that's always
awesome.
been like. Because my mom's a doctor, my dad was a nurse, so we've always been in the service industry of like helping people and stuff like that.
No, amazing.
And my roommate, he tore his shoulder playing baseball.
Yeah.
And then tore his elbow the very next year after he just recovered from his shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was with him at PT every day, like walking with him and stuff like that, helping him throw and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I want to be a physical therapist. I want to help athletes just like this guy.
Yeah.
And then after my first year at Salem, I got my internship at Salem. I got an internship like at a physical therapy place in Salem, and I was like, "This is boring. It's all just old people. Like, I was like, where's the athletes?"
Yeah.
And then the harsh reality came that like 90% of physical therapists never see athletes. It's all mostly old people because in the general population, who gets injured the most? Old people. You know what I mean? Who gets knee replacements and hip replacements? Old people. So then I was like, what's the next step higher in terms of sports medicine than a physical therapist? And that'd be an orthopedic surgeon. So then I was like, I'll go do that.
I can't even say. I was like, that's honestly amazing to have a job in the STEM field, to be even interested in the STEM field. You know, it's science. What is it? Science, technology, engineering, math. Is that what it is? Yeah.
I think I'm calling it STEAM now though, because the arts.
Oh, I apologize. STEAM.
I could be wrong though. I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, if your brain works that way, more mathematical, more like I'm gonna plug in two things, give me one answer. Like that literally takes a different type of person, because I'm the complete opposite. Like my strong suits were in like English and history and things like that. Like I like to write. I can, I'd rather read and do all that stuff than like I can't even do basic algebra. Like it's literally sad. No, so I want to say brave, to be very brave and to say I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. That's what I want. It takes guts, and it honestly, like hat off to you for doing that, especially being a first gen person, because like that I can't even imagine that pressure. That must be absolutely, literally, absolutely.
It's also like, nice ridiculous. To be like, my mom was a pediatrician, so I upstaged her and became a surgeon.
Oh yeah, it's like, you know what, Mom? Thanks for starting it off, but I'm gonna take it around from here. Thanks, Ben. That's a great point of view to have. But anyways, school is just a whole other level. And if you're out there and you're a first gen student, and it's gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be fine. Just keep on doing you. And even if you're not a first gen student and you're in school, just keep doing you. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out what's your passion. Figure out what's gonna make you happy in life. And just sort of, what's the saying? Go to the beat of your own drum. Is that it?
Something like that.
I'm saying
also
it
just be thankful like that you were born in a place that you can
with educational opportunity.
Like you can, like the problem isn't can I go to school? The problem is I have to go to school. Like, the problem is I'm getting forced to have a good education. Like that's your problem.
I didn't think about how serious.
Instead of your problem is I'm not allowed to.
Can you imagine that? That's scary. No. That's actually kind of crazy to think about. That's actually a really good point. But yeah, and I think another thing I wanted to touch on too is like stereotypes. I think that is something that we grew up with like a lot, and I just think it does have an effect. It does take a toll, like especially on us. I think I can speak from my point of view. I just found it funny growing up, how a lot of people did not understand the basic difference between ethnicity and religion. They kind of just, took the two and just mixed it. Like from my point of view, so if anyone out there is relating who's, like Arab and Muslim, or is Muslim and is not Arab, I know a lot of people actually from the Philippines who are Muslim.
The southern part of the Philippines used to be like a huge Muslim colony.
Yeah. So it's always so funny because they just assume because you're Arab, you're Muslim. And actually that's not true. Majority of Muslims aren't Arab. Yeah. So I remember
there's like a huge population in like Malaysia or Indonesia,
and China
right?
too. Yeah. So like it's always so funny because I'm just like, it's like you wouldn't go up to every white person and be like, oh, you're Christian. You wouldn't go up to every black person and be like, oh, you're Jewish. You know what I mean? That's not how you wouldn't do that. So I always found it funny how in my, yes, I happen to be, quote, quote, Arab, which I don't even really say. That's a whole other episode. I'm gonna break that down on the whole North Africa region. But yeah, I would never say like I happen to be Arab and Muslim, but it's not always like that. So I always just found that crazy how people just did not understand to separate the two, and just a lot of like harsh things that kids would say growing up, being because I guess I didn't look like they looked to. I'm sure you can relate to that too. Especially in Florida, so you grew up in like a really he's waiting for this. So like you grew up in like a small town, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in a town with like 7,000 people in North Florida.
Oh my god!
So I was pretty much 30 minutes away from Alabama. So people in my area, we pretty much call it the LA of Florida or Lower Alabama. That's pretty much what we call ourselves.
Oh, I thought LA like Los Angeles.
No, it's not cool. It's not cool like Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
It's lame like Lower Alabama.
Oh, okay. So not a lot of diversity, I'm assuming.
No, I was I was the only Asian, and I was one of like 5 kids in my grade that were people of color. So there was maybe like 2 Mexicans, like 2 people of like Hispanic background, and maybe like 2 or 3 other black kids.
Oh my god, that is crazy to think of. Yeah, in my town, my town is very diverse. It's extremely diverse. But when I was growing up, there were like a handful in each class. I feel like either I was the only Arab kid, and there was a black kid, and then a kid who was Hispanic, and that was it. Or there was like, I would say 4 to 5 max in a class. Other than that, they were predominantly white. And I always it never, thank God for a majority of my life, I never experienced anything like harsh. Yeah. Like any like racist things like growing up. Obviously now in times we're living in now, a lot of things are getting exposed and coming to light, which is good. But I never really experienced anything. I have some like until no, I can only imagine. That must be crazy. I didn't really, I really didn't get it until I would say like middle school. That's when when people, I would say
because it's taught, like, you know what I mean. A kindergartner doesn't know what racism is. Like I didn't start getting anything until 7th, 8th grade when like you started to understand like not understand like, but as a kid, like that's when you really start forming like those bigger thoughts, you know what I mean? Instead of like, oh, this is just a kid I'm hanging out with, like, oh, this is a different like, you know what I mean? This is a different kid, and like you get told all these things get thrown at you, like, you know what I mean, as a young kid. I don't blame anyone for anything that they did to me, because it's literally taught by their parents. Yeah, exactly. But I saw this crazy good quote like a year ago. It was like, don't blame the liar. No. It was don't blame the lie to blame the liar. Yeah. You get that? So I would say don't blame the lie to, in the sense that they don't know any better, but blame them if they don't want to change. Exactly. You get what I mean? Blame the lie. Blame the person that ingrained it in their head how to think so negatively on other people for literally no reason, just because they don't look like you. That's just a horrible thing. And I would get upset with the lie too when they've acknowledged it and they don't want to change. Like, okay, like, yes, I was raised to think this and it's not right. Yeah. I'm gonna stop thinking like this. When they don't want to, that's when we have a real problem. Yeah. We're like, oh my god. But yeah, so the whole reason I left public high school and then moved 7.5 hours away to go to boarding school was because of like the stuff that had happened in my hometown. Oh, absolutely. I can only imagine. It must be absolutely crazy. Yeah. I had a lot of experience like with my mom, because she wears a headscarf, and like a lot of like negative comments being said, and looks just question, which you know what I always found so funny is like every time I ask someone to guess where I'm from, they can never guess. They can never guess until they hear my full name. They might get like a little hint that like, okay, he must be like Arab or like Middle Eastern or something because of his name, but like they can never guess where I'm from, which I find funny because like you think I'm all these different things. Well, you're also the only Algerian I've ever met. Yeah, which is honestly crazy. Well, it's like with most things like with most like all the things that were coming at me, like because I was also I am Jewish. Yeah. So it's your father is white. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean. But a lot of things were like either Jewish comments or like Asian comments, and it's like I'm also the only one that they've ever met. I was the only like crazy to me. Like when I was still in public high school, my freshman year of high school. Yeah. Out of the entire high school, like freshmen through seniors, there's probably those 5 kids in my grade, and maybe like 2 other kids. Like we were like a diverse my class having 5 kids of like people of color.
Oh,
We were like a
my
diverse.
God,
We were a
that
diverse
is-
class.
in where you're
Yeah.
from. That is absolutely crazy to me.
But because the way it was set up was like, I mean, I saw people of color all the time, but it was the way my towns were set up where I grew up. It's
Yeah.
like back in the day, like back like when slavery was still a thing, and like during segregation, like there's a place called Brownsville, like that's actually the name of the town. That's where all the black people live. Like
And they called it.
that's what
It was the real name of the town.
the real name of the town is Brownsville because they were only allowed to live in that area. Like back when like black people couldn't
Yeah.
buy houses, people of
Yeah.
color couldn't buy houses in certain
Yeah.
areas. Like they were stationed, like they were literally
before like the civil
forced
rights
into
movement,
these. They were forced into these specific areas,
Yeah.
and so you have like pretty much an all black school, and then less than 10 miles away, you have my school, which is pretty much an
Are
all
you
white
talking
school.
present day or back then?
Present day.
Really?
Yeah, just because it's not like that they wouldn't be allowed
Yeah.
to
That's
move.
just how it
it's
is.
just people have lived there for
Yeah, that's
so many
yeah,
years.
Yeah,
like
yeah. Wow, that's crazy to me because you see, like it's two. You're literally only in Florida, but it's like two different worlds. Like, yeah, no. Growing up, like my graduating class, we had like 500 something students. Literally, like you could have the whole globe in that like auditorium.
Yeah.
We graduated outside, not an auditorium, but in that whole stadium, like every person from every part of the globe, like literally, it was so diverse. It's just I just don't understand how. I think what I'm trying to say is I don't understand how people have the nerve to like I never have like obviously we have those stereotypes engraved in our heads, but I would never go front and forward and say something crazy like that to someone. You know what I mean? Just because I think I'm not a mean person, like I would never assume you're Asian, you must do this. You're black,
Exactly,
you must.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
No, but saying it to the person is absolutely crazy. Like
that's crazy.
Like
yeah.
how do you go up to
because
someone?
you've never like it was literally like so many people like that I've known in like from my area, like, oh, I hate Muslims, I hate like black people, I hate this type of person, I hate Mexicans, like I hate.
Yeah.
How many of those people have you sat down with, had a meal with, like, you know what I mean?
Gone to know.
You never met any of these people. How can you hate someone you've
Yeah.
never even met?
Yeah.
You've just heard things, you know what I mean? You've seen things from your own like short, like narrow-sighted like bias. Like,
Yeah.
you don't actually know. Like we're at the end of the day, we're all flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Like we're all humans
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
And they're all not the same. There
Exactly.
are people of the same culture aren't the same. They do different.
Everyone is
Yeah.
their own person. Not one person can
Thank
speak
you.
for everyone else.
Yes, absolutely. There are people. I'm sure you can agree. There are Algerian families that I know that don't do the same thing as we do. That don't see religion as the same way we
Yeah.
do. That don't raise their kids the same way we do.
Not even
It's
your
just-
families. Like
No.
your mom can't speak for like your mom.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I mean, obviously she knows you as a human
Yeah.
being, but like your mom speaks for your mom. And
Yes.
you speak for yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like our parents have a point of view on us because they obviously
Exactly.
raise us when we're their kids. But at the end of the day, I speak for myself and my actions and what I view. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't speak for anyone else. I think that's honestly one of the main reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, because like even though I want to keep it like lighthearted, fun, relatable. This is such a relatable topic because I bet you there are so many other people around our age, younger, whatever, older, that have gone through or are going through something like this, and they're questioning why is it? I think I always thought why does it matter? Like,
Yeah.
why are you so bothered with what goes? And you don't even know me, and you're
Exactly.
so pressed about what's going on in my house behind closed doors. Like, come over? Like, do you want to see? Do you want to take a look at what's going on? Like, we're very normal. We sit down and we eat dinner just like your might not be the same food, but
Yeah.
just as good as you think your food is. You know what I mean? So I just always found that crazy, and I think that's something everyone should really take a second and
People should just sit
acknowledge.
down and have a meal with someone else.
Yes.
Like, sitting down and having food with someone changes everything.
Absolutely.
It literally changes your perspective on everything. Like,
Yeah, especially if you're hangry. Like when I'm
Yeah.
hungry
If
and
you-
I don't
if you
eat,
can't-
it's bad.
like if you can't talk to someone like over food, like that's tough. Like you'll never come to an agreement.
That's a you problem.
You'll never come to an agreement.
Yeah, it's really a you problem. It's like that's something like within yourself that you
Yeah.
gotta like switch it up, please. Do something different because that's not right. And yeah, I think that kind of goes into like segueing. Do we, as first generation people, I know you want to talk about this, do we cancel that? Kind of diving into the whole cancel culture with what's going on right now. I think, all right, the best way I can portray to you how I see it is like this. actions that happened in the past when you were a child. Like, we're 20. You're 21 yet? Or you're 20?
I'm 20.
Yeah, you're 20. We are 20 years old. If, Ben, one day you sat down in front of me and you said, Moose, I found out that you did this when you were 14 years old. It was absolutely disgusting. It was horrible.
You know how many terrible things I've done when I was 14
Yeah,
years old?
exactly. And if you were like, Moose, it was horrible, do you still think like that now? Or what made you think like that? And I said, you know what, Ben? That was a different person. I was a child. I, thought the wrong things. And, I've changed. I've experienced. I've learned. Yep. Hence, I'm going to emphasize, I was a kid. Now I'm grown. You clearly see I don't think like that anymore. There is no need to cancel someone off that. I see it as like, if I see significant change, nice motorcycle, thank you. If I see significant change in that person, that's in the past. Don't judge someone on their past and their actions. Exactly. Judge them for the person that's standing in front of you right now. You know what I mean?
Also, at some point, yes, like, but back at it again, it's like, it's so hard. Like, how can you just say, all right, cancel, you're done? You don't, like, especially so many people are just like, cancel this person after one thing that they've said. Yeah. Do you know this? Do you actually know this person?
Yeah.
Or when people call for other people to make comments on other people that they have no idea, that they've never met before, it's like, you can't ask someone to make, like, how can you ask someone to literally just ruin, like, their whole social life and everything like that?
It's like,
in the court of public opinion. Like,
exactly.
Just because all of a sudden now we decide something is bad, it's bad. Yeah. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's like, it's like me saying, like, Ben, I want you to hate that person because I don't like them.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Like, doesn't make sense. Like, you don't know them, you don't have, their experience with me could be different with you, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so, I just think.
Yeah, anyone can, so as much as they want, it's a free country, you cannot like someone for whatever reason. Yeah. Whether it's right or wrong, they have the right to not like someone for whatever reason. As long as, it doesn't evolve into, like, a crime or anything, like a violent crime.
Of course, I'm not promoting that at all.
But that doesn't mean that you have the right to tell me who I should like and who I should not like.
Exactly.
Because I may have, like you said, a completely different opinion, or they may have been a completely different person back in the day when I met them.
Absolutely. Change, I think, is something people need to acknowledge a bit more.
We should value change way, way more.
Yeah.
Instead, like, being able to acknowledge something, be like, oh, I messed up. Yeah. Like, this is bad. And then I'm going to now change is so much more important than never messing up at all.
Absolutely.
Trying to be the perfect person just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And if someone has the ability to just look inwardly and be like, okay, like, I should change this. Which, I mean, I struggle with it every day. Like, it's hard to admit that you're wrong.
Absolutely.
But having the ability to say, like, to look inward is so much more important than trying to be perfect.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I think people, like, mistakes are inevitable. It's going to happen. And I think you really test your own morale as a person on how you get up after that. It's like, I've fallen down to the ground, I've messed up. Am I going to stay here, or am I going to pick up and try again? You know what I mean? In anything. It could be school, sports, anything. The way you've treated someone, the way you've acted. Like, I remember I saw this amazing, I think it was on the Oprah show. It was like a long time ago. She, like, interviewed this town that never had a black person that lived in that town.
That's
and
so
it was
wild, yeah.
I know, and she went to the town and literally was like interviewing people. A black woman back in like the 80s was interviewing people on the street on like how they were like, we never had a black person in this town and we want to keep it like that, and all these crazy things. And then 20 years later, she had 3 of the same guys, and they said a lot of racist, horrendous things during that interview back in the 80s. But 20 years later, she had them back on the show, and they completely apologized. They went through like a whole life change and literally acknowledged what they said was absolutely wrong. And Oprah would, during the time, that's why I like love that interview, that like series she did, because she let them just speak. She never was like, you shouldn't think like that. Like, she just, she was like, I'm here to present your thoughts. She let them just go. And, when they came back and they apologized, she wasn't, she didn't have a heinous attitude towards them. She wasn't rude. She acknowledged their change and was happy. She's like, I'm glad to see that you looked back and realized how horrible that was. Exactly, I remember at the end of the interview, she like hugged them and everything. So that is such a prime example. I'm like, look, like a black person never lived in their town. They were saying the most disgusting things about black people. How can you don't know? They never lived in your town. Like, how do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And
also they were raised to think that.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, like, yes, like, I obviously don't agree with that, but like, you know, 2 plus 2 is always going to be 4. But in terms of things like social,
STEM major, just saying.
In terms of like social ideas and things like that, like there is technically, I do have my own like strong beliefs, like, you know, I'm very progressive and all that.
Yeah,
but
course.
Technically, there is no right or wrong answer. Like, you know what I mean? There is no like this form of government is better than that form, like, and that's like the way it is. Like, there's technically no right answer. We have our own beliefs and things like that. So no one has the right to tell someone like, you know what I mean? You can't think that way. You must think this way. At the end of the day, like, you can't force someone to think another way.
Hearing that from like a future orthopedic surgeon is crazy. That there is no right answer. It's like absolutely funny. Is like, because is 2 plus 2 4? It could be something else. I would say that.
But then again, like, who am I to even be like saying? Like,
who are you to say is 2 plus 2 4? But I don't think so. No, but back to what you said. I think we need to acknowledge change more. Like, especially what's going on in like the entertainment world.
Change is so,
oh my god,
like, being able to change is just so much more valuable.
Yeah, it's freeing.
Yeah,
it's like spread your wings, fly away. Like, you know what I mean? Do something different. So yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people have to work on, and even individually, it can start off so small.
With like cancel culture, where does it stop? Because now, like, because at the moment, you know, being racist is bad. Like, at least I believe that being racist is bad.
Yes, I hope we can all come to
I believe that agreement. Is bad. Yes, I agree with that being bad. But that's just what's in style now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who knows 50 years down the road what's in style then, and what we think is good now could then become like, oh, like you said this 10 years ago, you should be canceled for this. Like, boom, life over. Like it's too dangerous to just all of a sudden jump on someone and then be like, I have decided, or we've all decided as just, you know, people have all decided that this person's bad and they need to go. Like,
I can see why you say that, yeah.
It's a slippery slope. It doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. It's just a slippery slope to fall down of people just getting canceled out of nowhere. Boom, you're gone. Like, boom, this, boom, that. At the end of especially with comedy. With comedy, like...
yeah.
Like, the whole movie, like, Tropic Thunder has been under a lot of heat.
With Robert Downey Jr.
Yep. I love Tropic Thunder. Yeah. And if you actually
I've never seen it.
If you sat down to watch that movie... The whole joke of him doing blackface was about how wrong it was.
Yeah.
The whole movie was about how wrong it was for him to do blackface.
Yeah.
It was also hilarious. Yeah. Like, it was just such a good movie. Yeah. But
I think that was also
made.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was that early 2000s maybe?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the job of a comedian though. Comedians take social issues and make them bearable and laughable to bring awareness. That's the point.
Awareness to so many things. Like, and it's the same thing with mental like disabilities and things like that with some of the other characters. And it's, yes, it was funny. Did I laugh? Yes, but I also understood I'm going into this movie watching a movie. Like, nobody's telling me how to actually think. Yeah. And it's just bringing awareness to things, and it's letting you decide.
It's a movie. It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, like, it's stand-up comedy. Like, it's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, obviously things have to be done in good taste. But at the end of the day, like, if it's a joke, it's a joke. I personally believe that we should be able to joke about anything. Yeah. Because nothing should be off the limit. Nothing should be too good and too off the limits. Yeah. Or, like, nothing should be off the limits. You know what I mean?
I think in a comedic standpoint, like I was saying earlier, I think that's what they do. They bring up social issues and current events and say it in a funny perspective so people can sort of like be like, oh, wow.
It gets the ball rolling.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's actually true. Like, that, you know, that joke that comedian just said, like, oh, wow, are people actually being treated like that? Like, it was a funny joke. Yeah. Then it's engraved. That's their job as a comedian. Now, what I don't find funny is if I don't know you, if we just met, and you're already throwing jokes like that my way, I need you to sit down and take a deep breath. I don't know you like that. Like, me and you always joke around all the time.
All the time, because we know each other.
We're friends.
Yeah, we know each other.
If I don't know you, do not come up with a funny joke. Ha ha. Like the sky's purple and yada yada yada, and say something absolutely like so crazy and whatever, and I'm just staring at you like that. That's not funny. Like, I don't know, who are you entertaining here? Or saying some sort of like joke about race, religion, what? And I just met you. No. Why did I say the sky is purple? That I don't know. It just shows how like not funny I am. The quickest joke I could think of is the sky purple. Anyways, I was just really pathetic. I'm so embarrassed. But yeah, no, Ben, I absolutely agree. And I think, you know, as first generation, you know, kids, that's something I think we need to put onto our own children one day, is, you know, to make sure they're independent, make sure they, you know, let's teach them to be good people, but you know what I mean, like, let them have their own thoughts, let them choose their own things, because at the end of the day,
also,
that's...
never let them forget what it took to get here. Like, this is why, like, in order to become a doctor, like, first I'm going to go into the military.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm doing that is not just so it can help pay for my schooling, but also because I'm so grateful for this country. Like, yes, is it perfect? No. What's perfect? Nothing. Nothing is perfect. But at the end of the day, this country has given me so much. Even though I grew up in lower Alabama, and yes, did I face a lot of discrimination and like racism and things like that? Yes. But did it make me a tougher person? Yeah. Like, I'm not thankful for it, but I learned from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to go into the military and serve, because this country has given me so much, and I want to be able to give back at least something. Like, because I know America means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but for me, it's all about the fact that my mom was able to come here from the Philippines, like, after a dictatorship, become a doctor, and meet my dad, whose grandparents came from, you know, World War II, where Jews were getting gassed in places like that.
Yeah.
And they came here to Ellis Island, to New York City, and then my parents meet, and they're able to give, like, their kids a great life. That is America to me. Yeah. Like, that's what I see as
Have
America.
you gone to Ellis Island before?
No, I haven't. I tried to go one time when I was in New York, but there's a bomb threat, so we couldn't go.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Yeah, no, it must be cool. You can like go and like see, like you're like signing a book, right? Yeah, that must be so cool. Yeah, no, and I think like what will you tell your future kids, like, to, like, for example, like, if you marry someone who, you know, you might marry someone who's an immigrant who came here when they were a kid, or if you marry someone who isn't a first generation like you, what are you gonna tell your kids when they're growing up, so that they know that their grandmother, their great grandparents were, you know, like, what's the main thing you want to tell them?
I'll definitely be like, look, America is amazing. Like, I love this country. Yeah. But because I love it, that doesn't mean I don't see its flaws.
Absolutely.
And there are many things that I wish to see change in.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from, like, yes, in 1776, a lot of people were not free. And that's horrible. But for me, what I take away from that is, at the end of the day, like, that got the ball rolling to put me here now. You know what I mean? And so I just let them know, like, this is for me, this is the best country.
Absolutely.
Like, I love this place. I grew up here. Like, this is my home.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, hopefully one day you'll grow up to love this place. But just because you love this place, take care of it.
Yeah.
And make sure it's for everyone. Make sure people like your grandmother, so my mom, people like that, always have a chance to come here, always have an opportunity, always have a place, like a seat at the table. Because that's what America is to me, and that's hopefully what I'm going to
try. And understand that
it takes a lot of hard work.
It takes a lot of hard work, and to understand that you would not be here if they didn't.
Exactly.
That, like, I think we need to emphasize that. It takes a lot of guts to literally pick up and leave. Like, we're just talking about how much we're so... Now imagine you met a girl, and she was, like, from a different country, and she was like, I want to go back to this country.
And they don't even speak the language.
You don't speak the language. You don't know the culture. You don't know the currency. You know nothing. And you just pick up and go. That is very scary.
Yeah, my mom went from sleeping in subways, like the subway station, to a doctor.
Amazing.
Because of America.
Amazing.
Like,
yeah. No, absolutely.
How could I not fall in love with this place?
Yeah, exactly. Like, to me, it's so scary. Like, my parents came here with 5 kids.
That's tough.
5.
Yeah.
My mom was in nursing school in Algeria, and she finished, and she was a registered nurse in Algeria, and then she came back here, and she tried to continue, but they basically were like, no, because in Algeria, like, the registered nursing program is French, so she learned it from like a French medical point of view, and that didn't, I guess, correlate to an American one. So they basically like, you need to start all over. She had 5 kids.
That's
in 1992. She needed to work. She didn't have time to go to school. And like, you know, kudos to parents who did go back to school even with their kids. But like, my mom was like, my first job is I have to take care of my. So I remember she always tells me like till this day, and like she has a heart problem, so she's like always in the hospitals a lot. She's like, oh my god, I would have loved to work and like to be a nurse here. It would have been so much fun. Like, so every time she says that, it reminds me like she literally gave up what she had back home just so her kids could have a better opportunity. That takes courage. That you know, I respect that so much.
Mhm.
It's a very selfless act that I think a lot of first generation kids, I hope they acknowledge and I hope they appreciate.
But at some point, also, it's not even just first gens.
Yeah.
Unless you're Native American,
You-
everyone came here.
Yes.
Everyone
Yes.
literally came
Yes.
here. Unless you're Native American, I mean, they even got here somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but I
That's still up for debate on how they
yeah.
got here. But
yeah.
they, like, everyone's
like-
family was an immigrant at one
Yes.
point, unless you're Native American.
Native American. I
But
absolutely agree with you.
Everybody was. Like,
Yeah.
At one point, someone sailed across the sea or went up from South America and was like,
Yeah.
"Yo, I'm gonna make it in this place."
Hopped on a plane. They were
Exactly,
like, "Let's
yeah.
go." Like, yeah, you know what, Ben? I absolutely agree with you, and I think that ties in the end of this episode
Yep.
amazingly. I think just, you know, if you're a first gen person, just like, you know, acknowledge your roots. Like, remember where you come from. Always take that with pride. Be proud of yourself and your family, where you come from, and I think take that with you in the future. And even if you're not, like, learn a few things. Like, ask that person in your class, like, "Oh, do you speak another language at home? That's so cool," or this and that, and be open. Like, I like it when people come up. I would rather you ask me a question than say something so ignorant and stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It
ask me
just
a
makes them
question.
look dumb.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, learn as much as you can, and I just think, you know, just be proud of where you come from. And at the end of the day, like, take any opportunity you can, because we really do have it good, and there are a lot of people around the world that really don't have it as good as we do, and I think we need
Too many places.
too many places. I think we need to appreciate that. Well, Ben, thank you so much. This was
Yeah, it was a
actually a
blast,
lot
dude.
of fun.
I
Guys,
loved it.
thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Moose Tracks Podcast. Do me a favor, like and subscribe to this channel. Please like the video. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. Also, follow me on my social media. It's tagged on the screen, as you can see. Other than that, don't forget to keep track with Moose, guys. Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.